Mike Shoesmith, welcome so much to Freedom Friday. Listen, you've got a lot of cool things to bring to the table, but I want to start off with this because you and Brandon Big B both interviewed a gentleman by the name of Terry Jones, a man that the media, the mainstream media, tried to make very, very controversial, tried to marginalize him, really held him up as some kind of a nut job. But in the meantime, you went to Dearborn, Michigan. You interviewed him personally on video, and we've got that on the PNN News and Ministry Network.
Right.
Brandon went to Central Florida and interviewed him on video. We've got that on the PNN News and Ministry Network. And the guy is sane. He is logical. He is biblical. He's very calm and reserved. He spent 30 years in Europe in and around Islam. He has been warning America for years, and it's my understanding he actually predicted what is happening in Paris today. He actually predicted that this kind of thing was going to happen. So fill us in on what you know about all of that.
Well, he held a news conference in Dearbornistan, Michigan, otherwise known as Dearborn, Michigan, where the America's largest mosque is. And Terry Jones came up there with a few bodyguards, and he stood in front of the mosque in Dearbornistan, and he held a little protest / press conference there, and I have press credentials, so they held there hundreds of protesters speaking all manner of foul language against Terry Jones, and all this he's just a small town preacher. You know, he's the pastor of Dove World Outreach Center there in Gainesville, Florida, and I think he may have moved headquarters now. The Gainesville is listed as the headquarters until July 2013. He may have moved. I'll have to get. I have his email address. I'll have to get the update
he
on that.
did, and I remember when he moved, but I don't remember where. It's still in Central Florida. I think it's a little further south, but I do remember him moving. But anyway, go ahead. Back to the story.
Yeah, no, the police in Dearbornistan, they held back the protesters about a quarter mile away at the Roman Catholic Church, which is right next door to the mosque, by the way. That is a 2-hour teaching on the connection between the Roman Catholics and the Muslims, by the way. But anyway, the protesters were held back at the Roman Catholic Church right next to the mosque. But I have press credentials, so I was let through.
Yeah, I remember.
And I was there with Fox News and all the big media there, and part of the scrum. Interviewing Terry Jones. And after it was all done, I stuck around and I got a few personal questions in with Pastor Jones. And listen, we had a little chat, a little personal one-on-one there. And it's all recorded. It's all up on the ppsimmons YouTube channel, the PNN network, wherein he just laid out the facts. You know, he spent several years, decades, in fact, in Europe watching the rise of Islam. And he was simply standing in front of this mosque, armed to the teeth, by the way, because he was in fear of his life, and rightly so. If the protesters outside the police barricades could have gotten to him, they would have torn him apart. People hate this man. In fact, Hillary Clinton blamed him for the Ambassador Stevens attack. You know, Terry Jones was instrumental in part of the team that made the video, which got the blame from the Hillary camp for the massacre in Libya.
And now we know that was all a complete fabrication. Let's just call it what it was, a complete lie, and they used him as the scapegoat.
To cover up the incompetence, the Hillary Clinton incompetence, or some might surmise purposeful act of allowing the ambassador and some Marines to be slaughtered there.
Right.
I mean, that again is a whole other story.
Right.
But Brandon also, and Brandon may be able to elaborate on this during his segment, but he also has a personal relationship with Pastor Jones. He went down to his church, interviewed him personally. That interview is also on the PNN network. And basically it was the same message coming from Pastor Jones. Look, I spent decades in Europe. I am watching the rise of Islam in Europe. They have reached a critical mass wherein they will start to begin efforts to take over the country. And now we see these things happening, beginning with Charlie Hebdo, and now seems to be a full-on onslaught there in Paris, France today.
Well, yeah, and listen, let me just say to our audience, folks, Drudge headlines right now, big red letter headlines, Muslim rampage in Paris, which is exactly what Terry Jones said was going to happen. Okay, so this preacher from Central Florida who's lived in Europe for 30 years among the Muslims, so he wasn't so crazy after all. And it goes on to say 100 hostages taken in theater, 39 plus are known dead. They're running around Paris shouting Allahu Akbar. They're running around saying this is for Syria. Okay. Also, I heard the news, the national news playing during our break here, and the news reporter said that one of the bombs that went off was in a soccer stadium with 80,000 people in attendance. So, I mean, this is a massive, wide-scale terrorist attack in Paris, and it's suicide bombers, and it's in multiple locations, and this, of course, is meant to confuse law enforcement as well as to sabotage law enforcement. So they're in for a tough go of it here. And why? Because, Mike, they have opened their arms and opened their doors and opened their borders to these hundreds of thousands of Muslim immigrants, and they have disarmed their citizens years ago in the name of gun control. And so now they're sitting ducks, and now they're living in a living hell tonight, and I don't know how much worse it's going to be. It could get a whole lot worse, and there's very little that the French citizens can do to protect themselves, their families, their children, and the innocent among them, and the police are running around with like chickens with their heads cut off because they don't know where the next bomb's going or the next, somebody may take a shot at them. And so there you go.
Well, Canada is in her infant stages of that now, with an ISIS attack on Canadian soil at the Parliament last year, where a young soldier who had a fake gun on him was killed, and finally someone with a gun, the master at arms there, had to come in and kill this ISIS insurgent in Canada. So that was sort of our shot across the bow when it comes to Islamic extremists, But, the Canadians, they thought, well, this was just a one-of. Let's elect a liberal, ultra-liberal government, which happened last month. So, they'll protect us, though, Carl.
Yeah, Yeah, and by the way,
they want to run everything
Listen, we've just been updated. 100 hostages, 60 plus people now dead in Paris as the rampage continues. So there's a slaughter, an Islamic slaughter going on in Paris, France. Americans, world, take note. Wake up. America, is this what you want coming to your city? Is this what you want coming? Canada, is this what you want coming to Toronto? I was just there. Is this what you want in Toronto? An Islamic rampage, 60 people dead, 100 hostages taken, suicide bombs going off, stadiums exploding with bombs, restaurants, theaters, all over. Law enforcement doesn't know what to do, and they can't get help from the citizens because in Canada, they won't have guns. In France, they won't have guns. And so it's just the police against a well-organized ISIS, apparently. I'm saying that. The news isn't saying it, but it's Muslim, it's Islamic terrorist attack shouting Allahu Akbar. Now, over 60 dead and still going on. The rampage continues.
Amazing. Terry Jones was labeled by the Southern Poverty Law Center as one of the 10 most anti-Islamic people in America. But listen.
Well,
It's not paranoia if they really are out to get you.
That's right.
It's not paranoia.
That's right.
If they really are out to get you, that's not paranoia. That is, it's easy to be a prophet in this case for Terry Jones because he lived it. He saw it with his own eyes rising up in Europe, and he came back to America, which he loves, and he said, listen, folks, there's a tsunami coming.
Yep.
There's a tsunami coming.
Yeah.
Get ready. And he's been saying it for a long time, and now here we are in France.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
No, I just think that people need to start taking people like Terry Jones and Brandon Gallups and Carl Gallups and maybe even Mike Shoesmith a little more seriously on this.
Well, and so my latest book, and again, I'm not selling the book. I wish I could give it away. It's published by a major publisher, so I don't have access to giving it away. But you can get it, and you can get it. They published it in soft cover, so it's very, very reasonable. Get on Amazon, whatever. But it's called "Be Thou Prepared: Equipping the Church for Persecution in Times of Trouble." This is one of the very things that I address in my book, and it's not just philosophical. It's extremely practical on how to prepare your church, how to prepare your home, how to prepare your community, and how to avert such things as this. And then I address dozens of other topics as well. But I'm telling you, it's a living hell in Paris right now. And why should we be surprised? They took the guns away from the citizens years ago. They've been importing Muslims, radical Muslims, and now tonight it breaks loose. 60 plus dead, hundreds of hostages or 100 plus hostages, bombs going off, suicide bombers, and they're shouting Allahu Akbar in downtown Paris tonight. Mike?
And they are only doing what their holy book and their prophet has told them to do. Someone needs to show me a piece of Islamic scripture, not some kind of moderate writings designed to deceive the people. I'm talking about Muslim scripture, which says that there is a moderate sector to Islam. No such scripture exists. This is exactly, they're doing exactly what they're commanded to do in their holy book, which is why Terry Jones burns 3,000 of them every year.
Trying to wake America up. Now, America,
right.
Gone are the days when we can watch this happen in France and say, oh, well, that'll never happen here. Gone are those days. And you know, Mike, right now, Fox News, Obama standing behind a podium in the White House, it says, President Obama statement on Paris attacks. Well, I don't know about you, Mike, but I feel better now. I think we're safe because the president he's making a statement. He's making a statement. Yeah. Hey, folks, listen. See, this is why you don't want to miss Freedom Friday. I don't care where you are right now. You're staying right on top of the news as it happens, plus commentary, plus we're telling you everything that's breaking on television, on the internet. All you have to do is stay tuned to 1330 WEBY.